Perhaps certainly our youngest presenter for tonight, active member of our community, Baruch Hashem, someone that all of us here are very proud to have a part of our community. Helpful, supportive, always there to help whoever needs. Definitely is a shining example of what Mayor talked about, empathy and thinking of others and worrying about others. And as I mentioned at the beginning, can also take pride in his accomplishments, in his learning, all the things that he achieves, notwithstanding whatever circumstances Hashem puts in our way. And with that, it really is a pleasure to ask Aaron Smith, please come share a few words on the subject of organ donations in halakha. Come forward. Put that on.
Good evening. Donating organs is a very complicated halacha case. I'm not here to give an answer, as there are various different opinions. Each opinion should be discussed with your own rabbi. Donating organs while someone is alive is not debated, as long as it is not detrimental to your own life. As the Torah puts preservation of human life as its top priority. So if you have part of a kidney, you're allowed to take it, or a lung, that's your own opinion. If you would like to take it, you have no obligation. When someone dies, Jewish law commands that the body must be buried whole, if we can. In some circumstances, it's not always possible. However, to save another life, it supersedes it. You're not allowed to kill a person, which is very important, because if you want to take an organ, we must know when you're allowed to take it, because medically it's different than halachically. When is the cessation of death? If a person is in their final stage of life, they're considered alive, which makes it more complicated. If you take an organ from someone that's not halachically dead, it's considered like you're taking an organ from a fully living person, and you're like chayiv misa. You get the death penalty.
It's murder.
Yeah, it's like considered murder. Brain death, according to the Harvard criteria, is if a person is brain dead when he or she has suffered irreversible cessation of the functions of the entire brain, including the brainstem. This is determined by a number of tests that determine unawareness of all stimuli, no spontaneous muscular movement or respiration, no reflexes of any kind, and flat electroencephalogram, indicating the cessation of electrical activity in the brain. If after 24 hours there is no change, the person can be declared dead. According to Rav Moshe Feinstein, death occurs when the breathing stops. It doesn't matter if the heart's still going, whatever. If the breathing stops, the person's dead. This is disputed because he learns this from the Seftas Yuma, the case, and explains how you test when someone's dead. So you check if their breathing is still going. And we are only allowed to take an organ from a dead person when absolutely necessary. We must make sure that it's used in the proper way. Rav Moshe Feinstein encouraged people to make organ donations. And he would encourage it to save a life. One body can save up to 8 lives. And you must be careful that even if they require external machines to keep them going, they are still considered alive. And also, a person must consent. You're not allowed to just like you go to the hospital. You can't just take the body away. You have to. The person has to consent before, and they're not obligated to. Even though it's a great mitzvah, the same applies to donating blood. We cannot obligate someone to donate blood, but it's a great mitzvah. Like donating a bone marrow, it's painful. So people really have to think about it. And Rav Moshe Feinstein also wouldn't agree that brain death is dead. And there are many doctors who also, some doctors agree that brain death is not dead. And they don't accept the Harvard criteria. And you don't know the actual definition of death until the person actually like dies. We don't actually know it completely. So if you want to receive an organ, it could be a problem because in Israel, when it's Jewish doctors performing this, if you want to receive a heart, it's impossible to receive it because the person you can't have a heart that's like not working. So in Israel it would be a problem, but outside Israel it wouldn't be a problem because we can assume that it is mostly non-Jewish doctors who would be doing this and non-Jewish patients. So it'd be okay.
It's a problem because the person who's taken from must be alive by halachic standards.
Yeah, it's a problem because if the person's alive by halachic standards, it's like the Jewish doctor is going to kill them. So it's like according to halacha, and a Jewish person also. Someone who is unconscious and their heart stops, they can donate after, but you can only donate like skin and the cornea and some tissues after the heart stops beating. A heart can only exist 4 hours outside the human body, but that's only if they keep it pumping, working. And the kidney could stay around 36 hours. And there is always some brain activity after a person is incapacitated. Also, a halacha to keep in mind is that when a person is almost dead, you are not allowed to move them because you're afraid that you might cause some harm to them, which will hasten their death. That's why a test should not be performed on these people. Like we shouldn't check in a test because it might kill them. And we can see in Israel, they suffer from a lack of organ donations, and it's due to over 100 people die a year, according to the HALACHIK Organ Donor Society, because people are not well versed in this. And also outside like in Canada, we have societies that deal with organ donations, but a lot of times Jews were not sure what to do because they're going to make the decisions for us. So they have created a card that you could sign with conditions, and because people are worried. So if someone becomes incapacitated and they're in the hospital, and they have a card, so the doctor is making the decisions because the doctor wants the best. The doctor knows the criteria of the Harvard criteria, and he's going to make those decisions based on that they see the person's the brain activity is done, so they're going to take the organs
even if not halachically dead.
Even if they're not halachically dead. That's why people are nervous, because that's why they don't sign the government cards. And some people say that they're biased, but they really want to save lives. And many rabbis support organ donations, and we have to advocate for it, and halachic organ donations, and we have to teach them the right ways to go about it. And thank you very much.
I think you're referring to HODS, it's Halachic Organ Donation Society, and they have cards in which you can stipulate the condition as to at which point you allow for your organs to be donated. And the conditions are only after halachic death, which already renders most of the organs not usable. Some still can, but not all of them. I don't think that, like you said, the heart can't be used. Maybe others can. And as you mentioned also, another big concern is there's no rabbi going to be standing there to make sure that they're waiting for actually the halachic death. So you're trusting a lot in whatever system happens to be running at the time to actually follow through with the very specific conditions. All of this make it very difficult. And like you said, many are very suspicious about actually going through with it. So as you mentioned, consult with your local Orthodox rabbi before you make any decisions in this regard. So we're going to break now for Mincha. And after Mincha, we have one more topic we're going to discuss, the details and halachas of early Ma'ariv. When we can daven early, why we daven early, how we daven early, when we can't daven early, all those details to come after Mincha.